morning. Myself E. Rajkumar, Assistant Professor of Commerce. In today's class, I am going to explain about the profits and gains of business or profession. Profits and gains of business or profession. This particular topic is covered under the subject called income tax. This particular subject is covered under the subject called income tax. This particular topic is explained as per as per Income Tax Act 1961 and section 28 to 44. Section 28 to 44 explains about the profits and gains of business or profession. While calculating the total income of an assessee, the Income Tax Act categorized the income into 5 categories. The first category is income from salary. The next one is income from house property. The third one is profit and gains of business or profession. Then the fourth one is capital gains. The fifth one is income from other sources. Today I would like to explain about the third category. The third category is profit and gains of business or profession. As per Income Tax Act section 2 subsection 3, business is any trade, commerce, manufacture or any adventure in the nature of trade, commerce and manufacture, or any adventure in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture. Any transaction with a motive of selling at profits included under this concept. Any transaction with a motive of selling to gain profit, that particular is to be treated as business. It is not necessary that there should be a series of transactions in a business and it should be carried on permanently. Sometimes the business may be temporary basis also. Sometimes the business may be long going concern also. The business simply means any economic activity carried on for earning profits. In our general terms, we give explanation regarding the business as any economic activity carried on for earning profits. As per Income Tax Act, profession is an occupation requiring purely intellectual skills or manual skills controlled by the intellectual skill of the operator. Profession is nothing but profession is an occupation which requires an intellectual skills or manual skills. It requires intellectual skills or manual skills. The particular skills are controlled by the intellectual skill of the operator. That is called profession. The examples to profession is lawyers, doctors, engineers and accountants, chartered accountants and cost accountants. So profession refers to those activities where the livelihood is earned by the person through their intellectual or manual skill. Here the profession refers to those activities where the livelihood is earned by the person through their intellectual or manual skills. That is professional income. While considering the income under profits and gains of business or profession, the income has been classified according to the section 28. According to the section 28, the following are the main clause that requires an income to be charged under the profits and gains of business or profession. The following clauses has to satisfy. The first one is there should be a business or profession. First, the assessee has to establish a business or he has to do profession. The second one is the business or profession should have been carried on by the assessee only. The particular business or profession has to be carried out by assessee only. The third one is the business or profession should be carried on for some time during the financial year. The business or profession should be carried on for some time during the financial year. It's nothing but the business or profession has to carry it in the previous year for some time also. No need to do throughout the year. No need to do throughout the year. Some part of the time also that particular income should be considered under profit and gains of business or profession. The charge is in respect of the profits and gains of business or profession, the financial year of the business or profession. The charge is in respect of profits and gains the financial year of the business or profession. The fifth one is the charge extends to any business or profession carried on by the assessee whether under the taxpayer's own name or otherwise. The charge extends to any business or profession carried on by the assessee whether under the taxpayer's own name or otherwise. Sometimes the business or profession may be registered in the name of assessee itself. Sometimes the business or profession may be registered in the name of company name also, some other name also. But the assessee has to pay the tax. These are the 5 clauses were classified the income as per section 28. This is the pro forma we use. This is the pro forma we use to calculate the income from business or income from profession. Whether in the business or in the profession, in the business, the businessman has prepared PL account, has to prepare the PL account. Based on the PL account, he finds some net profit or net loss. If he got any net profit, on that net profit the assessee has to pay the income tax. Whether he got loss, on that loss no need to pay any income tax to the government. Based on the net profit, we have to calculate again taxable income. Based on the net profit which is prepared by the accountant, we have to calculate again on how much amount the assessee has to pay the income tax by using this pro forma. The pro forma is first net profit as per PL account. Whatever the net profit arrived by the accountant, that is to be considered here. First net profit as per PL account. Then to that PL account add non-business expenses. Non-business expenses add back to the net profit. Non-business expenditure is nothing but that particular expenditure is allowed while preparing the PL account, but that particular expenditure is not belongs to business. That particular expenditure is not belongs to business. Any expenditure is not belongs to business, that expenditure has to add back to net profit. Then any business expenditure, any business income not credited in PL account. Sometimes the accountant may miss some incomes while preparing the PL account, but that the missing income is related to business. That income has to be add back to PL account. That income has to add back to the net profit while calculating the taxable income of a business. Add back the business incomes not credited in PL account. Then deduct the non-business incomes credited in PL account. Sometimes while preparing the PL account, some non-business income also we credited to the PL account. Sometimes we created the incomes that not related to the business also we credited while preparing the PL account. We identified any income that is not belongs to business, or not considering that particular income as business income, that is to be deducted from the net profit. Then lastly, any business expenses not debited in PL account. Any business expenses not debited in PL account. That means while preparing the PL account, the accountant has not considered that particular expenditure as business expenditure and not considered that particular expenditure while preparing the PL account. That particular missing items has to give deduct from the net profit. The lastly, the arrived value should be treated as income from business. Income from business. In that particular income from business, we have to calculate the tax liability of an assessee. The first one is net profit, which is to be directly taken from the PL account. Then add back non-business expenses which were given effect in the PL account, and business incomes not credited. Some items were missed by the, some incomes were missed by the accountant while preparing the PL account, and the missing incomes are related to the business, that should be add back, and non-business incomes credited in PL account should be deducted. While preparing the PL account, the accountant has considered some incomes that are not related to the business, deduct those non-business incomes. Then lastly, business expenses not debited in PL. That means the accountant has missed some expenditure, that the expenditure has related to the business. Any expenditure we found while preparing the taxable income of a business, just deduct those expenditures. Then lastly, we arrive some value. That value should be treated as income from business. Income from business. On that income from business, we have to calculate the tax liability of an assessee. Then the next one is, well, this is the pro forma we use it to calculate the income from profession. This is the pro forma we use it to calculate the income of profession. That means any assessee is doing profession. On that profession, we have to calculate the taxable portion of the income. Taxable portion of the income. First, we have to consider the professional receipts and deduct the professional expenses. Professional receipts and deduct the professional expenses. The arrived value should be income from profession. But while preparing the income from profession, we have to follow the, what are the rules and regulations we followed while preparing the income from while preparing the income of business based on the net profit. What are the rules we followed? The same rules has to be followed while preparing the professional income also. We have to follow the rules while preparing the professional income also. That's why I mentioned the clear note. All rules of business income is applicable in the case of professional income also. The same rules. Computation of income from business or profession. The following are the general principles to be followed while computing income of business or profession. The following are the general principles we follow to calculate the income of business or profession. The first principle is profit should be computed according to an accepted method of accounting regularly employed by the assessee. Basically, we follow two types of accounting methods. The first one is cash system and the second one is mercantile system. Most of the times all the businessmen follow mercantile system, all the professionals follow cash system. All the professionals follow cash system and all the businessmen follow mercantile system in general. In general, all the businessmen follow mercantile system and all the professional persons follow cash system. First, we have the clarity which system the assessee has followed. The second one is only expenses incurred in connection with the business or profession of the assessee will be allowed. That means any expenditure, the particular expenditure has relation with the business or profession, only that expenditure has to be considered while computing the income from profession or business. The third one is losses, if any, should be incidental to the operation of the business. That means any loss is occurred on that particular business, that is to be occurred incidental only, not intentional. not intentional. Only that losses should be considered. The fourth one is profit and losses of speculation business should be kept separate. Profit and losses of speculation business should be kept separate. And the fifth one is any sum is allowed as deduction in any previous year and subsequently recovered. It will be taxable in the previous year in which it is received. Sometimes in the previous year we shown in the earlier previous year we shown that particular expenditure as deduction, but after some time on the next coming years we recover that loss. In the coming years we recover that loss. In that situation that should be taxable. In that situation that particular recovered expenditure has to be treated as income, and that on that income we have to pay income tax. We should consider that particular recovered expenditure as income. And last one is any amount allowed as expenses in the earlier years if recovered during the any amount allowed as expenditure in the earlier years if recovered during the current previous year. The following income shall be chargeable to the income tax under the head profit and gains of business or profession. Basically the business or profession runs by getting income only. The incomes are identified by the income tax department. The important incomes are, the first one is the profits and gains of any business or profession which was carried on by the assessee at any time during the previous year. The profit and gains of any business or profession which was carried on by the assessee at any time during the previous year. The second one is any compensation or other payment due to or received by any person in connection with a business or profession. That means any compensation or other payments. The third one is income derived by a trade or professional or similar association from specific services performed for its members. Any income derived by trade or profession. The fourth one is profits on sale of a license granted under the Imports Order 1955, made under the Import and Exports Act 1947. Any profit on sale of license. Sometimes the businessman may sell license to some other persons. And cash assistance. Any cash assistance received or receivable by any person against exports under the any scheme of the government of India. And the sixth one is any duty of customs or excise repaid or repayable as a drawback to any person against exports under the customs and central excise duties drawback rules 1971. Any duty drawback received by the assessee, that is to be treated as income. And value of any benefit or perquisite, whether convertible into money or not, arising from business or the exercise of an profession. Any value of benefit. And any interest, salary, bonus, commission or remuneration, whatever name called, due to or received by a partner of a firm from such firm. This one also should be treated as income. Any sum received under a Keyman insurance policy, including the sum allocated by way of bonus on such policy. Interest on securities held as stock in trade. This is very, very important. Interest on securities held as stock in trade. That nothing but the stock is in trade in that business activity. The stock in trade in that business activity, in that situation, whatever the interest earned on that particular security is to be treated as business income. Otherwise, that is, the particular income is not related to the business. That should not be considered while calculating the taxable value of that particular business or profession. The expenses expressly allowed. This is nothing but the allowable expenditures. The first expenditure, allowable expenditure, is rent, rates, taxes, repairs and insurance for building. Section 30, as per section 30 explains about the rent, rates, taxes, repairs and insurance for building or premises which are used for the purpose of business or profession is allowed as direction. That particular building or profession or premises using for the purpose of business or profession allowed as direction. If the business premises are owned by the assessee, no notional rent will be allowed. Already I explained, any any house property is using for the purpose of personal to run his profession or business. On that, any rent was paid or any rent was showing as notional payment, that should not be treated as expenditure. That should not be treated as expenditure. The second one is, as per section 31, repairs and insurance of machinery, plant and furniture. Repairs and insurance of machinery, plant and furniture. The amount paid on account of current repairs and the amount of any premium paid in respect of insurance against the risk of damage or destruction of machinery, plant and furniture used in business or profession will be allowed as deduction. That means any plant and machinery or furniture using in the business or in the profession, any expenditure made for the purpose of repairs or to make an insurance, that can be allowed as deduction. And the depreciation, which is very very important, depreciation is allowed in respect of tangible assets and in respect of intangible assets also, but that particular property or that particular asset has to be used in the business or in the profession. If any asset or asset is using for personal, that on that particular asset should not calculate the depreciation. Why? Because that particular depreciation is not allowed as deduction if any asset is using for personal. In that depreciation is explained by section 32. While calculating the depreciation, the block of assets is very very important. The block of asset is nothing but the group of assets falling within a same class of asset for which same rate of depreciation is prescribed. The same rate of depreciation is prescribed. That nothing but the nature of the asset is same, the nature of the assets are same, and the interest depreciation rates also same. Then we can club the assets into one block of asset. This is the pro forma we use to calculate the depreciation of the particular assets. While making the block, we use this pro forma. First, value of the asset at the beginning of the previous year. That means the WDV value at the beginning of the previous year. Then add the value of assets acquired during the previous year. Any assets were acquired during the year, we add the value and the less scrap value received on the sale of asset in the previous year. That means on that block of asset, any asset is sold or any asset or assets are sold in that particular period, that should be deductible. The remaining value should be treated as the closing value of the block. The closing value of the block, on that only we have to calculate the depreciation. But while calculating the depreciation, we have to concentrate on purchased assets. We have to concentrate on purchased assets. Why? Because any asset is purchased or any asset is acquired in the previous year, from purchase date to financial year ending date, the asset has to be put in use for a period of minimum 180 days. If the asset is put in use for a minimum more than 180 days, we can give full depreciation. If the asset was put in use for a less than 180 days, we can give only 50% of the depreciation. Only 50% of the depreciation is allowed. And the next one is tea development account. Tea development account, if an assessee who carrying on the business of growing and manufacturing tea, coffee and rubber to deposits, okay na, tea, coffee or rubber. In that situation, he has to deposit an account in the tea development account. He can avail this deduction, the amount of deduction list of the following: a sum equal to the amount or the aggregate of the amounts deposited, or a sum equal to 40% of the profits of such business. That means every year he has to deposit some amount in that tea development account. And the next one is expenditure on scientific research. This is very, very important. Expenditure on scientific research. The following were the deductions shall be allowed in respect of expenditure on scientific research. Here we have some classifications. The first one is any revenue expenditure laid out or expanded on scientific research related to the business. For self business, any expenditure was expanded for the purpose of scientific research, that can be allowed as deduction. The second one is any amount equal to 125% of any sum paid to a scientific research association which has as its object the undertaking of scientific research, or to a university, college or any other institution to be used for scientific research. That means the assessee has given amount to respect to notified institutions to make scientific research. On that donation or on that amount, he can avail to 125% as deduction. That means, for example, the assessee, the businessman has provided the businessman has paid 100 rupees to the college or university to make scientific research of something. While preparing the PL account, or while calculating the taxable income of a business, we can consider that 100 into 125%, 125 rupees as allowable deduction. The third category is any amount equal to 125%. This is also same. We are giving any amount to social sciences or statistical research. And the fourth one is, this is very important, capital expenditure incurred other than acquisition of land or scientific research related to the business carried on by the assessee, where any deduction is allowed in respect of any capital expenditure represented by an asset. No depreciation will be provided on that asset under section 32. Any capital expenditure is incurred, that can be, we can give deduction other than acquisition of land or on scientific research equipments. Where the assessee pays any sum to a national laboratory, this can also, you can take as deduction. Where a company engaged in the business of biotechnology or manufacture or production of any drugs, pharmaceutical, in that situation also we can take deduction up to 150% of the expenditure actually we incurred. This is nothing but we paid 100 rupees to the particular, or we spent 100 rupees, but we can take deduction as 150. We can take deduction as 150. Any expenditure on know-hows, if the assessee has paid any lump sum amount for acquiring any know-how for the purpose of his business, the amount shall be allowable as deduction in 6 equal installments commencing from the year in which such an expenditure is incurred. If such know-how is developed in a laboratory owned or financed by the government or university, deduction is allowable in 3 equal installments. That means any know-how is purchased from the external body. In that situation, from in which year the know-how was purchased, know-how was acquired, from that year to up to 6 years, he can take deduction in equal parts. If the know-how is developed by a laboratory or financed by the government or university, deduction is allowable in 3 equal installments. That means from the government or the university or any finance provided by the government. In that situation, only 3 equal installments, but which is acquired from the external parties, we can take deduction in 6 equal installments. Amortization of such preliminary expenses. This is very very important. The preliminary expenses incurred by an Indian company or a person who is resident in India will be allowed as a deduction if the expenses are incurred before 1/4/1998, will be allowed in 10 equal installments, and if such expenditure is incurred after 1/4/1998, the deduction will be allowable in 5 equal installments. That particular preliminary expenses were made before 1/4/1998, you can take in 10 equal installments. If the expenditure was made after 1/4/1998, you can take deduction in 5 equal installments. The preliminary expenses are like this: any expenditure in connection with the preparation of the feasibility report, preparation of the project report, conducting market surveys or any other survey necessary for the business of the assessee, engineering services relating to the business of the assessee. That means the preliminary expenses are nothing but before starting the business, any expenditure has been incurred. And the legal charges for drafting any agreement between the assessee and any other person for any purpose relating to the setting up of or conducting the business of the assessee, and the legal charges for drafting the memorandum and articles of association, printing charges of the memorandum and articles of association, registration fee of that particular institution, shares and debenture issue expenses, underwriting commission, brokerage and charges for drafting, typing, printing and advertising of the prospectus. Sometimes the preliminary expenses include merger and acquisition charges also. Merger and acquisition charges also you can consider preliminary expense. Other deduction as per section 36: premium on stocks, bonus or commission to employees, insurance on health of employees, interest on borrowed capital, discount on issue of zero coupon bonds, employees contribution to RPF, employees contribution to approved gratuity fund, bad debts subject to condition, income from sale recognized, if any amount has been subsequently recovered in respect of the above, then it shall be taxable under business head even if business is discontinued. The next one is provision for bad and doubtful debts. No deduction in general, but deduction available to scheduled or non-scheduled cooperative banks, foreign banks or state finance corporation. The bad debt is nothing but the businessman has sell some goods to his customers on credit basis. Sometimes the businessman may not recover the amount from the customers. In that situation, that particular sale leads to be bad debt. In the earlier years, the assessee has shown that particular sale has bad debt, but in the coming years, the businessman has recovered the amount from the customer. Under situation, the amount was previously shown as expenditure. In which year the amount was recovered, on that year that particular amount has to be shown as income. The second one is actually any provision for doubtful debts or any making reserve for doubtful debts should not be treated as expenditure, business expenditure. Only in the issue of financial institutions like cooperative non-scheduled banks, scheduled banks, and non-scheduled cooperative banks, foreign banks, or state finance corporation. In that financial corporations, we can consider that particular provision for doubtful debts as business expenditure. The remaining all should not consider as business expenditure. And the last one is general direction as per section 37. Any legal expenses and customs duty, excise duty, sales tax appeal expenses, day-to-day expenses to carry on the business, gift to employees, workmen compensation fund, and any expenditure is not in personal nature, and any expenditure not in capital nature, and incurred during the any expenditure incurred during the previous year can be considered as expenditures. And any expenditure as per section 43B also we can consider as direction. The 43 is nothing but that particular expenditure has to be paid basis. Any sum payable by way of taxes, duty, or free under any law or by whatever the name called. Or next one is any sum payable by employer by way of contribution to provident fund or superannuation fund on paid basis only. Any sum payable as bonus, commission, or employees for services rendered. This particular expenditure has to be deducted only on the basis of paid only. Not we cannot give deduction on accrual basis. We cannot give deduction on accrual basis. Whether the accounting system we followed on accrual basis also or mercantile system also, but this particular expenditure should not be given accrual basis. Give as deduction on accrual basis. Any sum payable as interest on loan borrowed from public financial institutions. Any sum payable as interest on loan taken from scheduled banks or cooperative societies. Any sum payable by the employer in lieu of leave salary to employee. The following expenditures should not be allowed as business expenditure. The following expenditures should not be allowed as business expenditures. Assessing officer may disallow payment made to relative if in his opinion it is excess of the market value. Any payment exceeding 20,000 or rupees 35,000 in a day by a assessee will be allowed as a deduction only when payment is made by a account payee check only. That means as per our rules, the businessman or the profession man has to pay the expenditure through check only. If any expenditure is less than 20,000, he can make through cash, but any expenditure more than 20,000, he has to make that particular payment through check only. In the issue of payment to a transporter engaged in flying, hiring, and transporting, in that situation the businessman can make payment up to 35,000 in cash, but more than 35,000 cash he has to make through check only. For the above rule, there is some exception is there. The exception is, the first exception is payment is made to bank or financial institution, he can make through cash. Second one is government under required law, and third one is payment on banking holiday. For example, on that particular day bank was holiday, in that situation he can make payment through cash irrespective of the limit. And the fourth one is payment to employees not exceeding rupees 50,000. Payment in a village not served by a bank. For example, in that particular village or in that particular area bank facility is not available. In that situation, up to 50,000 you can make payment in cash. And any book adjustment was there, we can make book adjustment without limit. And payment for purchase of agricultural produce, poultry farm produce, or dairy items, cottage industry working without aid of power. In this situation also we can make payment without the limit of 20,000 or 35,000 for agricultural use. The following other expenses are expressly disallowed. The following other expenses are expressly disallowed from business or professional income. Any guest house expenses, this is personal expenditure. They simply say that any personal expenditure is not allowed as deduction guest house expenses, wealth tax, income tax of the personal, tax penalty, advance income tax, any drawings, salary to proprietor, and interest on capital, life insurance premium, expenses for family members, provisions like provision for bad debts and provision for taxation, any donations and gifts, to charity, and depreciation allowed above the prescribed limit, and all expenses of capital nature and all expenses relating to other heads of income. So that means any expenditure which is not related to other heads, which is not related to business or profession, and any medical insurance premium paid in cash. Any medical insurance premium paid in cash that cannot be allowed as business expenditure. Any salary and interest on capital to partners. Any salary or interest on capital to partners as per section 40b, interest and salary deduction as per provisions in partnership deed. Anything mentioned in the partnership deed that can be allowed as business expenditure, but nothing was mentioned in the partnership deed. In that situation, that particular interest or salary should not be considered as business expenditure. The interest on capital also, rate specified in partnership deed are 12%, whichever is lower. Beyond the 12% is taxable. Salary allowed only to working partner. Other than working partner received any salary from the partnership firm is taxable. Simply, while preparing the taxable income of a business or profession, just we have to consider any income related to business or profession and any expenditure related to the business or profession. Only that incomes and that expenditure has to consider. Other than these two, other than any expenditure or income belongs to business or profession, we should not consider while preparing while calculating the taxable income of a business or profession.